Every year, as the clock winds down on December 31st, we all take part in this this huge collective ritual. We're marking the boundary between what was and what will be. It's supposed to be about renewal, lights, noise, hope. But for some people, that boundary marker, it isn't a fresh start. It's a collapse. The moment reality just fractured and a kind of terror set in that leaves a permanent scar.
We've actually been asked to look into some of these accounts, specifically from the Horror Docs community, focusing on New Year's Eve. And we're not treating these as just simple ghost stories. They're more like case studies in psychological trauma and, well, genuinely unexplained phenomena.
So tonight, that's our mission. We're going to examine 3 accounts where the impossible just sort of invaded the normal, all on this one single night.
And there's a framework we can use to try and understand this, a concept called liminality.
Right, the threshold state.
Exactly. Liminality is just that, a state of transition. And New Year's Eve is probably the biggest global liminal marker we have. The emotional energy is so intense, it feels like the rules of time are just suspended for a moment. We want to explore how that powerful shared feeling might actually coincide with events that seem to defy the laws of physics.
Okay, let's unpack that with the first account. We're calling this one The Icy Road and the Kitchen Knife. This happened about 7 or 8 years ago. The narrator was driving home late with his ex-girlfriend, Duda, from a New Year's party. It was hours after midnight. The roads were dark, totally empty, and slick with this unexpected sheet of ice. They were just exhausted.
I mean, that's just the perfect setup for disaster, isn't it? You've got high anxiety, physical exhaustion, dangerous conditions. The stage is already set for something terrible to happen, even before you add in, the anomaly.
Absolutely. So they're maybe 10 minutes from home when this figure just appears in their headlights in the middle of a completely deserted road, a woman. And she wasn't crossing or anything. She was just standing there, facing the car. He slams on the brakes. But of course, the ice makes everything worse. And what really grabs his attention is what she's holding. It's a massive kitchen knife. He described it as the kind you'd use to carve a turkey.
Wow.
Yeah. And her face was just contorted.
Sure.
Somewhere between a scream and this horrible grin.
The reaction has to be pure panic. You've got this obstacle on an icy road, which is terrifying enough, but then you add this immediate obvious threat. The instinct to swerve is all you've got.
So he wrenches the wheel hard to the right, but as they pass her, she lunges. He hears this awful thud and a scrape as she literally swings the knife at them. The swerve, her movement, the ice, it all combines and sends the car spinning a full 180 degrees.
So now they're facing her.
Now they're facing her again. There's a moment of silence, just ringing in his ears.
Yeah.
And then he sees her, maybe 30 feet away, limping toward them. And the noise she was making, he said it was this guttural, incoherent screaming, more animal than human. Her clothes were torn, her hair was matted, but the worst part, he said, was her eyes. He said there was nothing behind her eyes, no intelligence, just dead, empty space.
That description, the total lack of any human presence, it's a really common factor in reports of extreme unprovoked violence. It suggests either a complete dissociative state or, well, something else, an entity just running on pure malice.
Yeah, she was closing the distance so fast, he throws the car into gear, floors it. The tires spin for a second, then finally catch. He thinks they're clear, but the woman, she moved with this impossible speed. Suddenly the whole car just shudders. Violently. She had thrown herself onto the hood,
Oh my God.
clinging with one hand, and with the other, she's just stabbing over and over, stabbing the knife into the windshield. Duda is screaming. Her empty eyes are just inches from his, right through the glass.
This takes it from a roadside encounter to, this is sustained close quarters terror. The car itself has become part of the attack.
His only option was to fight back. He starts swerving the car, just violently back and forth, trying to get her off. On maybe the 4th big swerve, she finally loses her grip. She rolls hard off the hood and just slams onto the icy pavement. He didn't look back, not for miles. The narrator, he felt this profound, sickening guilt. Did I just kill someone, a mentally ill woman? But Duda, she's shaking and she grabs his arm and just forbids him from stopping.
And that's where the real trauma starts to set in. It moves past the physical attack and into the psychological fallout. Duda's fear that because they've been drinking, the police would blame them, it forces this immediate, irreversible choice. They chose self-preservation.
And that choice just cast a shadow over his whole life. For months, he obsessively checked the news. Any report of a body found, a missing person, anything. There was nothing. Ever. No trace of her. No report of an attack. Did they kill a person who was just erased from the records, or did something get up from that impact and just walk off into the woods?
What's really fascinating to me is the difference in their reactions. The narrator is permanently scarred by it, but Duda, according to him, she moved on almost instantly, just cold dismissal, told him he was being dramatic if he even brought it up. You're looking at a textbook case of extreme compartmentalization, a defense mechanism so strong it actually ended up changing how he saw her as a person. It just shows how trauma can reshape everything, even when the source of it remains a complete mystery.
Yeah. A violation of the physical world. So let's move from that to an account that violates the boundaries of time and space itself. We call this one the impossible date. Yeah. This one is much more recent, a New Year's Eve. And it involves the narrator, who's in the East Village in New York, and his good friend Garrett, who lives in Hong Kong. And the critical thing to remember here is the time difference. It's 13 hours.
Exactly. So when the ball drops in Hong Kong, it's only 11 a.m. on December 31st in New York. The events we're talking about are separated by a gulf of time that's actually longer than the flight between the two cities.
Right. So the narrator is at a rooftop party in Williamsburg. It's about 11:30 p.m. New York time. He meets a girl. Her name is Metre, pronounced Metre. They hit it off right away. Talking, dancing, they share that big midnight moment. And soon after, they leave and go back to his apartment. He remembers this incredible level of detail about her, the kind of specific facts you absorb when you're really clicking with someone. She's an artist, murals and graffiti from San Diego. Her middle name is Mia. She has 2 cats, also named Mia and Cosmo. Birthday, April 28th. Her dad's a patent lawyer. I mean, these are very specific, verifiable things.
And she borrowed his shirt to sleep in. The interaction was physical. It was real.
But the next morning, she's gone. And this is where it gets impossible. His apartment door, it only locks on the outside with a key.
Yeah.
But when he checked, the lock was engaged. The door was locked.
Okay, so she couldn't have locked it on her way out.
She couldn't have. So either she vanished from a small single-exit apartment while the door was still locked, or she could somehow lock it without a key. And the shirt she borrowed, also gone. Proof that she was there, she slept in the bed and then just evaporated from a locked room. So later that afternoon, he's shaken, confused, and on a total whim, he calls Garrett in Hong Kong. They're chatting, and Garrett mentions he's bummed out because he also met a girl the night before on his New Year's Eve who had completely vanished on him.
Oh no, you can feel the chill starting right there.
The narrator, sort of half joking, asks for her name, and Garrett says, Metre, my treat.
And they just start comparing the notes, all those little details.
Every single one. San Diego, the mural artist. Middle name Mia. The 2 cats, Mia and Cosmo. Birthday, April 28th. Dad's a patent lawyer. Every single detail matched perfectly. And Garrett had pictures. It was the exact same person.
This is where it just defies any conventional logic. You have to look at the math. Garrett met her at 11:00 p.m. Hong Kong time.
And our narrator met her at 11:30 p.m. New York time. That's a 12-hour separation between 2 physical meetings with the same person, 8,000 miles apart.
A flight from Hong Kong to New York is, 15 hours minimum? Even if she left Garrett's place the second she vanished and was somehow teleported to the airport?
She couldn't have physically been at that party in Williamsburg 12 hours later. It is physically impossible.
So this just fundamentally challenges your assumption of reality. You're left with possibilities that all violate the known universe. 1, a shared, highly specific delusion between 2 friends, thousands of miles apart, which seems pretty unlikely, especially with the locked room. Or 2, and this is far more disturbing, an entity that exists outside of normal space-time, one that maybe uses the huge liminal energy of the global New Year's transition to breach boundaries and just appear in 2 places at once.
It's like the ultimate ghost story for the modern age. Did they both sleep with a ghost? The question itself is the scar that was left on them. For our last account, we're going back in time. This is a story from the narrator's father and his friend Victor. They were at a remote lodge in Vermont in the Lake District on Route 100, a clear, cold New Year's Eve long before our narrator was even born.
So they're looking out a window over this large, frozen lake. The setting is total isolation, total stillness. The perfect quiet before, the chaos.
They're just waiting for midnight, and the silence is shattered by something that made no sound. A sudden, powerful flash of light, blindingly bright, totally silent. And the father was adamant it came from the ground up, originating from across the lake. Victor, he's staring out, and he insists he saw something moving out on the ice. A single figure where there should have been nothing but woods and snow.
It immediately brings to mind reports of, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, especially those in remote areas where light flashes are seen coming from the ground or water with no sound, no source.
Before the father could even process that, they heard it. Faint, but unmistakable. A little boy's voice yelling, "Help!" Huh. And the immediate thought is, a child is in distress out on the ice. Even though they knew the lake was frozen solid, they just had to act. So they run out onto the ice, toward the far bank. They can just make out this small childlike figure, maybe 20 or 30 yards from the tree line. And as they're running, straining to see, the second flash hits.
The father said this one was so bright it forced him to his knees. He had to shield his face. Just a total sensory overload.
When his vision clears, the child is gone. The ice is empty. The snow is undisturbed. Just a blinding light, a cry for help, and then absolute nothing.
Chilling.
They turn and just flee back to the lodge, completely shaken. But Victor, who's a little bit ahead, he suddenly freezes and points up at the house.
And Victor swore with total conviction that he saw a small boy standing in the upstairs window of their lodge, just looking down at them.
A figure the narrator's father never saw. But Victor was certain.
So they burst inside, searched the whole place, but the house was locked tight. The windows were all secured, no sign of entry. The phantom on the ice couldn't possibly have gotten into a locked house and up to that window in the seconds it took them to run back.
According to the story, what haunted the father for the rest of his life was the light. That sourceless, blinding flash that happened twice and then never again. He tried to rationalize it for decades, flares, electrical storms, but nothing fit.
The light, combined with the vision of the child, it just creates this impossible, unresolved memory that violates every physical law you think you know.
In all three of these accounts, the attacker who vanished, the woman who defied time and distance, the child on the frozen lake, they all share that one terrifying link. They happened on the cusp of the new year, that powerful liminal state, and instead of renewal, that transition delivered this impossible, unresolved trauma that just tore down the barriers we count on to feel safe. So we'll leave you with a final thought to mull over. If time and distance and even locked doors fail to protect us on the most charged night of the year, what exactly are we celebrating when the clock strikes 12? We really hope these true, terrifying accounts kept you hooked. And, if you want more deep dives like this into the unknown, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Horror Docs, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next story.
We wish you safe travels and peaceful dreams.